Welcome to Tuesday, the 26th day of April, 2022. This Day Weather Podcast brought to you by Cowboy State News Daily, Wyoming's news authority. Check them out at cowboystatedaily.com or check out their Facebook page. Well, as we go on to the next several days, the last days of April, we're going to have a nice day today. Well, yesterday ended up being nice, but today even nicer. Not a lot of wind, warmer temperatures, and sunny to partly sunny skies, and kind of a nice reprieve. More spring-like temperatures will be found today, Wednesday, and Thursday. And we do have an unsettled pattern coming our way. We've got a series, not just one or two, but several Pacific fronts that'll be moving from the Pacific Northwest through the central and northern Rockies and into the northern plains. So the end of the week and the weekend and into next week, we're going to have, I would just say, typical weather, really, for this time of year. Some ups and downs, but we do have fronts, which is what we need. Now, we're going to get more wet for areas that have been getting wet. This is one of these situations where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why is it getting more wet for the north and why is it a struggle for some of the central and southern plains to get precipitation when this is the time of year when we should be getting it. We'll kind of show you the whys with that. A couple of really cool satellite photos. These were taken yesterday after the storm cleared out. And just about all of the white that you see here is snow that fell with the weekend storm right here. Now, there are areas that are white. Those are clouds. But you can see how much of a difference elevation played a part in snowfall. So let's zoom in a little bit closer to northeastern Wyoming and southeastern Montana here where the snow is heaviest. One interesting aspect, it's always a really thin line between getting snow or getting rain. And you can really see it here in the river valleys, where the lowest part of the river valley systems did not get much accumulating snow. Look at that. This is that snow shadow that came off the bighorns as well. So you can see the river valleys just low enough to keep it in the form of rain. You get up on the higher ridges and you can see the heavy snow. Some really tremendous snows right here. You can see it very well on the satellite imagery here, but also really heavy snows right there as well. So these visible satellite images, always fun to see after a storm. And then you can see the Owl Creek Mountains right here, the southern bighorns, to where you just got off of those higher elevations and it was all in the form of rain. We showed you snowpack yesterday, but we didn't have what accumulated on Sunday. So this is before the storm. This is what the snowpack looked like in Wyoming on April 23rd. As of yesterday, look at the changes. The biggest change right here is the Belle Fourche, where it was 45% of average and it went to 131% of average. That's why the snowpack sensors picked up over 4 inches of water in some areas right here in that drainage. So that's why it went from almost nothing to something. Now, I want to talk a little bit before we get to the forecast part here about what's going on this spring, because it's really a huge contrast between the northern areas that are getting these storms, getting these blizzards, getting the wet, and the southern and central plains like eastern Colorado, western Kansas, parts of Nebraska and southeastern Wyoming, and New Mexico and Texas and Oklahoma that are just not able to get any precipitation. First of all, it starts with this. It starts with La Nina. La Nina continues to be extremely robust. It's just not falling off yet. We were hoping that this was the time of year it would start to weaken, but it is going to weaken. It's just later going on. Now, one thing I'm going to go back to this. This is one reason why the northern areas are getting storms. This is a breeding ground. These colder than average sea surface temperatures right here bumped up against these warmer, relatively warmer, at least compared to average temperatures there in the North Pacific, is breeding these lows up here and directing them this way, while La Nina is really not providing the water vapor that you normally get in the spring to come into here to provide us with that spring moisture pattern. A year ago, La Nina at this time was a lot weaker, but notice a year ago, the Gulf of Alaska was warmer, so that breeding ground wasn't there like it is this year. So this back and forth between these different temperatures in the Gulf of Alaska and near the equator here with this very robust La Nina is really playing a big role. So what has happened is that this blue line basically is representing the mean jet stream wind, kind of the average jet stream wind over the last 6 weeks. So here's the breeding ground of storms in the Gulf of Alaska. So they're swinging down, coming into the Pacific Northwest, and then they're going to here, then they're going up to here. So usually you get the heaviest moisture on the northeast, north, and northwest side of lows. So this is where these rain, snow, and the blizzards have just been repeatedly coming through, while the south side of the low, the down sloping side of the low, we have the dry, windy conditions below it. And basically we've been stuck right here with this pattern. So you have these big areas of contrast. You have this severe dryness and wind and warmth, and then you have the opposite, the cold and the blizzards up north, really not that far away from each other. And when we take a look at the way these lows have been tracking, the green arrows represent where moisture is coming into the area. And then the red is showing the downslope or the dry part of these lows. So these lows come in, they come in like this, and then they're going up here. Usually in the spring, you'll get 1 or 2 storms that will meander like this and then shift all of this south and getting places like eastern Colorado, western Kansas, down into these areas here. And these areas here, as long as this pattern of this northerly track continues with this breeding ground of lows up here in the Gulf of Alaska, well, the breeding ground is great because it's going to continue to keep these areas wet and continue to keep these southern areas dry. Downsloping winds off the Rockies. And this is what happens right here. The air comes downhill. So the air dries out. When the air dries out, sinking air in the atmosphere decreases the humidity, causes the air to warm. And what happens is you just get this vicious cycle where the ground gets drier and drier. There's less evaporation going into the air to help provide showers and thunderstorms. That's why droughts are a vicious cycle. They feed on it themselves. The ground gets drier, makes it harder to rain. So if we're going to change what's happening now, we have to have a fundamental change in the way the jet stream is behaving. And I do think this is going to happen in May. But for the rest of April, we're just going to see a pipeline of moisture go into these northern areas. So here's today's 500 millibar chart showing high pressure over Colorado. This is what's going to give us this nice day. See all this green up the breeding ground. This is the birthing place of all these lows up here. As we go into Thursday, one of those lows begins to get pushed in, and we're going to see by the end of the week, moisture increase in the Pacific Northwest and showers and thunderstorms developing. We're going to see as early as I think tomorrow, some scattered showers and thunderstorms across the high plains. But Thursday is kind of the day where showers and thunderstorms start to go up again. So I'm showing you potential lightning strike activity with that next wave coming on in. So Thursday afternoon and evening, scattered showers and thunderstorms are going to be developing. By Friday afternoon and evening, we have another cluster of showers and thunderstorms that are going to develop here. And this is going to be good rain-producing showers and thunderstorms. And look what happens by Friday afternoon. The thunderstorms develop here, then they go in. And this is where I think South Dakota, Nebraska, and north central areas of Kansas here, there might be some really good rain here. Friday night, and Saturday, which they need. You get on the western fringe of this, though, you can see the lightning activity really drops off. So it's not going to get everybody. By noon Saturday, we have an intense, small, but intense little low forming. This is going to bring wet weather to North Dakota, South Dakota, central and eastern Nebraska, and northeastern areas of Kansas. But look, we've got other systems coming in right here. Is this Gulf of Alaska area is just going to feed more fronts and lows. So it's kind of be like a machine gun of lows swinging through the Pacific Northwest and northern Rockies. This is what the precipitation forecast looks like through noon Saturday. So you can see right here is going to be some really good precipitation. But notice, here's that dry area again. Now, I do think there's going to be some showers and thunderstorms here, but you just got to get lucky. As we go out further, there's another little wave coming through Sunday. Look at that, another one behind it. It just keeps recharging up here. Now, that's good because what this is going to do for the northern areas, what it's going to do for this area right here is going to keep it wet well into the middle of next week. Here's another wave coming through on Tuesday. Now, this system on Tuesday may end up being a generator further south. You see this little tail? We're hoping that that can swing in Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, making a better chance of rain here. Maybe. We'll see, but the potential is there. And you can see that. This is the precipitation that falls Monday through Thursday of next week. More wet in the Pacific Northwest, more wet for Montana. Look at that. And then this little spike of more rain and showers and thunderstorms. Hopefully this forms. Again, we'll put a question mark on that. But the pattern does get more busy. But you can see the white down here. The further south, we're continuing to struggle. So we're getting better precipitation along these lines here, north of these lines. We got to get this to shift south if there's going to be any help down here. And what will happen sometimes in the month of May, as the jet stream weakens, we continue to have this breeding ground up here. But what tends to happen with the jet stream getting weaker, these systems slow down. They start to slow down. And what we see right around Mother's Day Sunday or just after, a larger low coming in from the west. Maybe this one will track further south. The bottom line is the rest of April is going to be wet up here. It's going to be wet in these areas right here, and that's really going to help. I think for May, for these areas to get help, it's going to be May. It's going to be May before that help, at least significant help, comes on in. Have yourself a great Tuesday. We'll see you.